Frank, how's it adapting a comic book into when you're used to doing regular books and novels?
I love it because it's because of the attenuated nature of it. The spun out, drawn out, long range into the future kind of nature of exploring these characters. You don't have to tell the story in one go, 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, whatever that time period is, and then that's it. That's all you get to say. I love the notion that if we can continue with this show, we're going to be with these people for a very long time, following basically in Robert's footsteps, and continuing to strip the layers of storytelling as well as we can do it, and strip the layers of who these people are. It's very cool. I really like it. We have given ourselves permission, and Robert has been really incredibly supportive of the notion of, let's step off the path of what the comic books are doing whenever we feel like it. We have a really cool story to tell here that's come to us and that's come to our heads. Let's take that detour. As long as we, and I've always said, as long as we weave back onto Robert's path, I think all's fair. It'll keep us interested, keep us surprised. It'll keep the fans of the comic book surprised, and hopefully the series itself will just, those who don't know the comic book will embrace it and enjoy it. So. I don't know. We didn't get that far into the narrative. It was funny reading.
I'm just going to interrupt. Right
yeah,
now,
do.
Because there is something where in the pilot episode, Frank took a line of dialogue that was basically just, oh yeah, by the way, this happened in the past. And he made that the emotional core of the pilot. It's really the thing that I think sells the show. It involves the character Morgan, who barely does much of anything in the comic book. But he's able to take this little nugget that I did in the comic book series and go, that's really interesting. What if that was expanded and we took a more in-depth look on this? And it's something really remarkable. It's almost my favorite moment of the show so far. And it's just a really, it's you know what I'm talking about. It's a really amazing thing that when people see the pilot, I think they're really going to be blown away. It really sells the show. It's that moment where I think people will be like, oh, I get this show. This is exactly what it's supposed to be about. I'm totally invested. I want to watch this show until I die. And really, it's just from a line of dialogue that I wrote in 3 seconds and then moved on. And so one of the really great things that Frank is able to do with the show is he just takes these little bits that I just blew past on my way to get to the next issue, and he'll expand it and turn it into something remarkable that I didn't even know could be done. And so it's really kind of great.
Do you explore that with a flashback, or?
No. It's just something. Basically, it's just the Morgan character mentions his wife, and with in the comic book, it was just like, oh, my wife, blah blah blah. But it's this really dramatic, emotional scene that goes on for a lot longer in the pilot, and I think that you guys will see it when it happens, and it's really great.
But I am so surprised that zombies have become as popular as they have become. This was sub-genre stuff. You had to be a real geek. Back when the only magazine was Famous Monsters, you had to be a real geek to know even what a flesh-eating zombie was. Now it's like Grandma goes to the Barnes and Noble and buys the Zombie Survival Guide joke book for her grandchildren. It's like it becomes so mainstream, and honestly, most of it's happened since I first read Robert's thing. It's literally like in the last 4 years, it's exploded into this mainstream thing, in a way that really blows my mind. I really wasn't expecting it. I always thought I'd just be a sub-genre geek the rest of my life. Apparently now we're riding the crest of some sort of cultural wave. Who knew? So I don't know what that is. I do know that I think the metaphor that zombies provide has become very pointed. And not to sound, too sociological, and I don't want to sound like a professor here pontificating, but, I think there is a millennial dread that is creeping in, and even stupid people these days are starting to catch on to the fact that this civilization we've crafted is unsustainable. We are overpopulated, we are overtaxing our resources, and we are overpolluting our planet. It's all going to fucking come crashing down. We're all dead men walking. It's the reminder that death is nipping at our heels, and we're just not. We're the little pigs who have built her. house not of brick, but of straw.
I guess it's a good thing to have the comic book series running for as long as it has, because it does provide a roadmap that he can always look at as he goes on in the television series.
Thankfully.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think that there's so many other ways that you can do it and so many other paths that you can take. It will be very hard for the show to catch up with the comic book series, just because we've got 8 years worth of stories in the series. And so, I hope it's a roadmap that he draws upon when he feels necessary, but I'm very adamantly pushing to go its own path and to do its own thing, just because the comic books, their charm comes from the fact that everything is unexpected, and I don't want there to be this thing that exists that will spoil the television show, because I think it's very important that that element of the comic book remains intact. It's almost the most important element of the comic book that remains intact. I don't want to really adapt the story directly as much as I want to adapt the spontaneity and the shockingness of it all. And luckily, I think that we've been able to do that so far. Robert,
In terms of pace, we haven't actually gotten that far into Robert's narrative with the first 6 episodes. It was interesting to see all the internet speculation. Of course, that's always wildly amusing.
I don't look at it.
But how far? Oh, well, this must take us up to 6 episodes must take us up to issue. It's like we're sort of slavishly tattooing every issue as an episode. So this must take us up to such and thus. And I was really laughing because, for the geek, for the fans of the comic book, it's like, oh, well, Shane must be gone by now. It's like, we haven't even begun to get to know Shane, at this point. And so that's the fun
Spoilers.
of it. It'll be a long time before we catch up with what this guy's doing.
Mr. Splitfoot's come to knock for you.